Oh, I think without any doubt the most significant event for American Catholicism in the last 100 years was the Second Vatican Council. I mean, the Second Vatican Council introduced some very significant changes in Catholic understanding and Catholic life. You know, in a certain sense, especially for the life of the ordinary Catholic or religious person, whoever it is, what affects them in their worship and how they go about things. And Vatican II changed that entirely, moved the language from Latin to English, ultimately changed the whole notion of the role of the people of God in liturgy, said liturgy was the involvement of everyone. I mean, before that time, many Catholics in the pews would say the rosary while the priest said those, quote, in fact, even the word we use, we said the priest said Mass. Now we say the priest presides at the liturgy. Everybody celebrates. Everybody participates. And I mean, that's just showing how Vatican II changed things with regard to the practical, everyday life of Catholics as seen in worship and liturgy. But obviously it changed it in many other ways. Theologically, a greater emphasis on the role of the Scriptures, a greater recognition of the need to dialogue with all other people and the search for truth, even religious truth, the acceptance of religious freedom, which was so important here in the United States, and probably was the one area where the United States made a contribution to the Second Vatican Council. Quite frankly, the intellectual life of American Catholicism in the 1960s was not all that strong. I mean, we were an immigrant church, we were a brick and mortar church, and we really didn't make that many contributions to Vatican II, except in the one area of the Declaration of Religious Freedom and the separation of church and state. This was the primary contribution that American Catholics made. So I would say without a doubt that the Second Vatican Council was the most significant event in American Catholicism. It was a worldwide event. Now another one that obviously I think maybe somewhat because of my own interests in my own area, but I think other people would say it had a broad effect anyway, was the encyclical Humanae Vitae in 1968 condemning artificial contraception. Especially in the light of the Second Vatican Council, many people in the Catholic Church, including myself, were arguing that the Catholic Church should change its teaching. And there were some indications that it might, but then Pope Paul VI reiterated the older teaching. And this caused a crisis for many Catholics. And we began to deal for the first time with the whole issue of dissent. Could one disagree with a particular teaching of the Church and still be a loyal Roman Catholic? And we distinguish those teachings that are core and central to faith from those that are more removed. And for example, the teaching on artificial contraception is not a core issue of faith. It doesn't say who God is. It's not about eternal salvation. It is something which even the Catholic Church itself said is based on human reason, primarily. So therefore, I think that this raised this issue of could one disagree in theory and in practice with a particular teaching and still be a loyal Roman Catholic. A few Catholics at the time thought that, again, it was all or nothing, and if they rejected this teaching, they had to leave the Church. But many recognized that one could disagree with a teaching which was not that central and core to faith and still be a loyal Roman Catholic. And that this issue of dissent has continued to be with us. Now, behind it, of course, is the greater issue of how does the Church itself grow, change, and develop over time. And getting back to the first issue, I mean, you can't have a Vatican Council every 5 years, but how does the Church today try to deal with that issue? And that's a very significant issue today.